Good evening and welcome to the September 9th Board of Trustees meeting. At this time, I will ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Guthrie. Do I have a second? Seconded by Ms. Hughes. Any discussion or questions? Okay, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Okay, and the motion carries 5 in favor, 2 absent. Okay, and at this time, we will move into our district highlights, and we will welcome Ms. Troy to the podium to present those for us.
Good evening, Board Chair Dr. Wimberly, Superintendent Dr. Robbins, and our esteemed board members. At this time, I will turn the podium over to Dr. Levine, Principal of Somerville High School, for this highlight, and then I'll return to close them out.
Good evening, Superintendent Robbins, School Board Chair Wimberly, and esteemed school board members. It is my privilege tonight to recognize Somerville High School's Lady Green Wave softball team. This amazing group of back-to-back state championship softball players finished this past season with a perfect 30-0 record, while outscoring opponents 237 runs to 15 runs. While that in itself puts these athletes in a league all of their own, let me give you some more impressive stats on these young ladies. Over the last 2 years, the Green Wave softball team has won 62 of the last 63 games played. Senior Ainsley Bennett was named the Gatorade Softball Player of the Year for the second straight season. She is only the 5th softball player in state history to win 2 straight Gatorade awards. In addition, Ainsley Bennett, Katie Gilliam, and Hope Chase were 3 of the 24 players selected for the All-State softball team, a first time in program history that 3 All-State selections were made from the team. And Ainsley Bennett, Katie Gilliam, Hope Chase, Abby Driscoll, and Melanie Edwards were 5 of the 13 players named to the All-Region team. And of course, this team could not achieve such prestigious ranks without the leadership and mentorship of their head coach, Heather Tucker, who was named the South Carolina Athletics Coaches Association State Softball Coach of the Year this past season. So at this time, I'd like to introduce the following players that were able to make it tonight. Caroline Waring, Ainsley Bennett, Alex Seawick, is it in? Haley Sexton, Brian Harley, Jaden Bennett, Darren Malden, and of course, Coach Heather Tucker. Please join me in congratulating this amazing group of women athletes.
you.
I think Michelle may have taken mine. Dr. Leviner, did you take an extra thing up under your, when you picked it up, that black folder? No? It was here. Nope, it was here. Well, we're going to go on, move on. Principal Tracy and Miss Link Bosnick, please join us up front. River Oaks, please, if you guys would join us in the center. Thank you. River Oaks Middle School was one of 200 schools from 40 states across the country to receive a $5,000 grant through the Laura Bush Foundation for American Libraries. This foundation supports school libraries with the greatest need, with the goal of encouraging all students to develop a love of reading and learning. Using the checkout data and surveys from students and staff, River Oaks curated a collection of new books that included fiction and nonfiction to update and diversify their collection. Already over 50% of the new collection has been checked out in the past 4 weeks of school. This will help launch the River Oaks Middle School Sustain Uninterrupted Reading for Fun initiative to help bolster the reading culture. Congratulations, Principal Tracy, Miss Link Bosnick, and the River Oaks Middle School. Will the adult education staff please join us up front? I do. Are we ready? Okay. Okay. The National Adult Education and Family Literacy Week is September 16th through 20th. The Board of Trustees would like to present an honorary proclamation to Dorchester County Adult Education, and it reads, Honorary Proclamation, National Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. Whereas more than 43 million Americans can't read or write at the most basic level, while 62.7 million lack basic math skills, as well as the credentials and skills necessary to succeed in post-secondary education. Whereas every year, 1 in 3 young adults drop out of high school. Whereas adult education programs contribute to solving these challenges by helping Americans move along the continuum in their educational journey to achieve basic skills and get prepared for career and college. Whereas in 2023-2024, Dorchester County Adult Education served 472 adult learners, 58 earned their high school equivalency, which is their GED, 15 earned their high school diplomas, 72 English language learners completed Skills Upfront and/or graduated with a high school credential, 4 met their family literacy goal, 22 met their workplace literacy goal, 46 obtained a workplace credential, and 500 digital literacy lessons were taught. Whereas Dorchester County School District 2 celebrates Adult Education and Family Literacy Week as a proud participant in the National Education and Elevate campaign, which helps our citizens learn about all of their adult education options to attain their professional and personal goals. I, Dr. Ashley Wembley, Board Chair, do proclaim September 16th through the 20th, 2024 as Adult Education Family Literacy Week. Congratulations.
Oh, you're good. Okay, moving on, our next item on the agenda, public comments on agenda items, and we have none tonight. Under our board chair's report, I wanted to just give y'all a quick reminder about the SCSBA meetings coming up. We have the regional advocacy meeting that is scheduled for Wednesday, September 18th. And I know Wanda had sent out an email to all of us reminding us, so I just mentioned that. And then also, just to put on your calendar ahead of time, I wanted to remind everyone about the legislative advocacy conference that we will have December 7th and 8th. So I believe those are the next two big things coming up. Okay. All right.
Can I just make a comment on the
Absolutely,
SCSBA
please. Yes, thank you.
regional meeting? Deadline is tomorrow, so just make sure that if you're planning to go, that you get it into Wanda, because those meetings, and they've got a pretty good agenda. I don't know if you've read the agenda yet, but they've got a pretty good agenda there talking about teacher recruitment and retention and that kind of stuff. So I would encourage anyone who can go to go, because they'll have lots of good information. So,
Excellent. Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Hughes. Appreciate that.
So I did have, Dr. Wembley, if it's okay, we've been a little remiss on some of our board goals. And so under this section, if you want to go ahead and we'll hit those board goals and note those on the board goal chart. Long arms, Mr. Guthrie, if he would walk down there. I'll read them off. We have the green check marks available. This goes back to our 2023-25 board goals. Also, we are assembling all the notes from our summer advance to get to you guys. I hope to have them. I promise to have them to you by the end of the week so you can review them. So, the one goal that we were able to complete was during the budget process, and that is we remodeled the extracurricular activity stipend schedule. So that is under staff recruitment and retention. Also under, I try to make it easy for you. Also under staff recruitment and retention, we established an annual loyalty stipend. And then under safety and security, we have now implemented the Raptor school safety software. So good work to the board.
Well, thank you, Dr. Robbins, and good work to you and to the rest of your team as well. I know it takes about a second to put that check up there, but a lot of work goes into completing those goals. So we appreciate your work towards that. All right, and next on our agenda this evening, we have our board committee reports, and we will start out with our policy committee. Ms. Bates.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do not have anything for this evening other than just a reminder that our next policy meeting will be at 5 p.m. September 23rd before our regular scheduled board meeting. So that is all, unless Ms. Powell has anything. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And next, finance with Mr. Guthrie.
Nothing to report.
Okay, and then facilities. I will turn to Ms. Hughes, since Mr. Farnsworth is
Yeah, we have
absent.
nothing to report unless there's something with the facilities update that Dr. Robbins would like to add in there.
The biggest thing on the facilities update will be under the SUPS report on the recommendation with the referendum, but nothing additional in terms of facilities from the last meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And at this time, we will turn to Dr. Robbins for his superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Nice to see everybody this evening. I felt it important to start tonight with a safety message. Okay, with a safety message. You know, we had filmed our soup chat several days before the incident that occurred in Atlanta. Again, hearts and prayers definitely go out to that community. The amount of violence that we see in our communities is just heart-wrenching. But what I wanted to share with the board first and foremost is, number one, if you look at the logos up there, you'll see that we have some incredibly great partnerships with our law enforcement and our emergency management officials. So when we talk about safety and we have our safety task force meetings, they're a big part of all of that. And we vet our ideas and our protocols through them. We did share in our soup chat what our protocols were. And again, I'd be very remiss if I didn't say they are not foolproof and they're not perfect. But the way I look at it is it's a three-level approach. There's a primary, a secondary, and a tertiary level. The primary level is to educate everyone on what the expectations are, what the laws are, and what we expect when you come to our school campuses. The second one is one where we do screenings, and we rely on some of the external protocols that we have in place to keep those things off of our campuses. And then the third one is really important, and that's the reporting piece. And so we, as you saw, we now have the Raptor system in place where our employees can immediately utilize one of our standard response protocols. We practice those protocols with our law enforcement and emergency management officials. But the other thing I wanted to share tonight is our community has to be a huge supporter of what we're trying to accomplish with safety, and they also have to understand that we are protected by state and federal law. In South Carolina, it is a state law that you cannot carry a weapon on school property, whether you have a concealed carry permit or not. The only people that can do that are law enforcement officials and someone that is authorized to do that by the superintendent. So we just want you to know that when we use our metal detectors and when we screen people coming onto our campuses, it's to safeguard your children, it's to safeguard our employees, and it's to safeguard our visitors. And so we are pleading for your help in supporting us in that effort. But understand that there is law that's associated with it, and it has some judicial punishments that go along with that. So we just want people to be aware. I think awareness and education is the first step in making sure that we're doing the best we can possible for our students. I would put our protocols up against anybody in the low country. I think we're leading the way, whether it's with clear bag policies, metal detectors, our weapons canine, our alerting systems. But again, those things aren't foolproof. And so working together as a community, like I feel like we have in my short tenure here, I think we can continue to make strides in ensuring safety on our school campuses. So I'm happy to answer anybody's questions. I know you probably all had a chance to look at the safety video that Preston and I put out, things you've all heard about over the last couple of years, but I just felt compelled to share that tonight. Okay. The next thing I have is tonight from my seat is our referendum update. So, you know, this has been an arduous process for us with the initiation of the referendum based on the growth needs that we have, an increase in capacity. We've been talking the last several weeks and months about where we are in the process. The first thing I want to bring to you for a recommendation tonight, but also go back and just kind of recap where we've been. But we put out a CM at Risk RFP for the construction of the elementary school in the ponds. We had that RFP out for multiple weeks. We conducted interviews with 5 of the leading companies that responded to the RFP. And again, the CM at Risk process is one we feel very confident in because it has a guaranteed maximum price associated with it and a guaranteed timeline. We feel like that safeguards the district, both financially and from a feasibility standpoint. The negotiations piece took place from August 26th to the 29th. And then tonight we have a recommendation for the board's consideration for approval. Again, we had 5 great companies that responded, that we interviewed for this CM at Risk contract, and some that I've worked with 3 of the 5 personally multiple times. But tonight's recommendation is for Hood Construction to construct the elementary school in the ponds. And happy to take any questions. And I believe Kenny is here, and Tina was a part of that process as well. Is Tony here? Yeah, I don't see Tony. So, but happy to answer your questions. We had an interview team that conducted the interviews, and then I just participated, but I wasn't a voting member.
I don't have any questions. I'd just like to make a comment. Really, that makes me smile because I know what they've done for us in the past. They have been one of the couple of companies that we've dealt with that when they're put on the job, they are on the job, and they watch out for the district's money and the district's interest in general. And when they tell you they're going to do something, they do it. So I'm really happy they were the selection. Thank you very much to you and your team.
Okay, at this time, I will ask for a motion to accept the recommendation presented by Dr. Robbins.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion made by Ms. Hughes. Do I have a second? Seconded by Ms. Crosby. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, and all in favor, if you'll. Okay, and the motion carries 6 in favor, 1 absent.
Okay, this really goes along the lines of the CM at Risk, but I inadvertently at our last meeting said that our orientation meeting for the Citizens Advisory Review Team was September 16th. It's actually September 19th. So I just wanted to go ahead and mention that publicly. We'll be meeting in the McKissick Museum on that evening. We will publish the meeting date just like we do other public meetings as well. And this first meeting is really just to bring the group together, introduce them to Hood Construction, introduce them to our own maintenance and operations folks to let them get started in the process. So, but that will be the orientation meeting. Okay, the next thing I have for the board's consideration tonight, we wanted to take a little bit of time on this to see where we were, but we are an e-learning district, but it was very unfortunate that Hurricane Debbie hit and we hadn't started school yet. By statute, we have to build in 3 weather days into our school calendar. when we built our calendar last year, we built the first 3 days. The third day was on a Saturday because we just never expected that we would utilize that day because we would enact our e-learning protocols. So I really have two recommendations. First, we had 4 days that we canceled due to weather. By statute, the board has the authority to waive days 4 through 6. So my first recommendation would be that the board consider waiving the 4th weather day that we had. The second recommendation I have, I've had several discussions with our district team, with our teacher advisory council and several other teachers, but that third day is on a Saturday, on graduation day. Typically, when we come back to school, we have had the last couple years, the first day back has just been a teacher work day on Monday, and then on Tuesday, our students come back. So in discussing this with our teachers, they'd much rather not have to make up a day on May 31st on Saturday when everybody is done, and just everybody comes back from Christmas break on that Monday, teachers and students included. So I would ask that you would also consider modifying the school calendar to move that May 31st makeup day to January 6th.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Robbins. At this time, do I have a motion? Okay.
I'd like to move that we adopt the date that Dr. Robbins mentioned.
Okay. Motion made by Ms. Powell to accept the recommendation given by Dr. Robbins to waive the 4th weather day, and if the board is okay to do it in one vote, yes, and also to move the recommended 3rd weather day from May 31st to January 6th. Okay, do I have a second? Okay, seconded by Ms. Hughes. All right, any questions or discussion? Okay, hearing none, I will call for the vote. This one should be electronic, yes. Okay, and the motion carries 6 in favor, 1 absent.
Thanks, members of the board. And before I move on, I'll just tell you, I've already had discussions with Ms. Troy, who leads our calendar committee, and we've obviously agreed that worst case scenario planning forward, so we don't have to make an adjustment like this by putting a day on a Saturday like that. So lesson learned. We just appreciate the community's support in our adjusting on this. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Tawana Sanders, who is our principal at Rise Academy, our redesigned, remodeled, refurbished alternative school. And as she's making her way up, I will tell you the first year in existence, we've seen some amazing things she's going to share with you. And it spread really quickly as they've had people across the state come and visit to see what it is that we're doing and how we're doing it in Dorchester District 2. So I'll turn it over to you, Ms. Sanders. Thank you.
Good evening, board chair, board members, and Dr. Robbins. Again, I'm Tawana Sanders, new principal, and I'm also here with our new assistant principal, Mr. Legree. The mission of Rise Academy is to provide students with a unique alternative educational setting while addressing their academic, behavioral, and social needs. There have been a couple of changes to our schedule this school year. So our staff now arrives at 7 a.m., our students arrive at 7:30, and our school day starts at 8 a.m. We now dismiss students at 1. Our teachers have their planning from 1 to 2, and then they have office hours to assist our students from 2 to 3 p.m. Something that stayed the same is our tier point system. So our students earn 4 points a day, 1 for advisory, which they complete every day, their attendance, their academics, and not having any referrals. So our highest level is tier 3, which you have to get 300 points and complete 20 hours of community service. If you were to come to school every day and do everything that you're supposed to do, you would be out within 12 weeks. For the tier 2 system, you would have to do 200 points and complete 10 hours of community service. And again, if you did everything that you needed to do, you would be out within 8 weeks. And then for our tier 1 students, they have to get 100 points and do 5 hours of community service. If you were to complete every single thing, come to school every single day, you would be out within 4 weeks, and if you completed your community service. Once you go from Tier 3 to Tier 2 to Tier 1 or 2 to 1, you then exit our program, and we have a Rise celebration, which takes place every Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. So for our 23-24 school data, we saw 414 students this past school year. Of those 414 students, our recidivism rate is 2.8%. So we had a few that did return to us, but we're trying to keep that low, and we have that same goal for this school year to keep that below the 2.8%. And then we started this school year with 103 students. So again, the few changes that we had this school year is the hours going from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. for students. We have a new portion of our building that is beautiful. It has 8 additional classrooms. We went from 12 certified teachers to 16 certified teachers. And our Tier 3 students used to be assigned to the Tier 3 room for 4 weeks. They are no longer assigned to that Tier 3 room, but they are still in our school for 12 weeks. And then our orientation schedule changed from, it changed to Mondays and Wednesdays at 10 a.m. I would just tell you it is production to have a transient population and to get our students in and out of Rise Academy. So I would just like to acknowledge all of our staff members that make this possible every week, every day. Any questions?
I do. When you said like Tier 3 students aren't assigned to the Tier 3 room, do you mean permanently for the entire time or at all?
So last school year, when Tier 3 students came to us, they were in a Tier 3 room, which they were in that room. They did not change classes at all for 4 weeks. That is no longer our process. You come in, you're here for 12 weeks, and you transition from class to class.
So like as you earn out of your tiers, you'll
Yes.
transition. Okay, so that they can be with the peers in the
Right.
same tier that they're in.
Yes, and
Okay.
get the same academics.
And just for the community who doesn't know, what were your student hours prior to the changes this year?
It was the 8 to 4. We were on a high school schedule.
Okay, and what benefits are you seeing, or what is the reason for the difference in time change, just out of curiosity?
Let's speak, Dr. Robbins.
Any? Yeah.
Part of it is the community service component that we have. The other part is we service kids all across the county in that one location, and we're trying to also provide them with more mentoring opportunities with their staff to help reintegrate them back in their classroom. If y'all haven't had a chance to visit one of the celebrations or see a day in action, I highly encourage you to do it. It's they do a wonderful job in trying to mentor those students and help with some of the corrective behaviors so they don't return. Honestly, the 2.8% is pretty impressive. So to have a goal below that, so.
I just want to say I applaud the idea of moving your hours because I want to see the kids actually do some community-wide community service. And so I think that's going to basically add to their understanding as to how they are part of the community when they're able to get out there and do that. And the second thing is the addition of the building, adding that particular area. I visited, I love it. Those that basically worked on putting it all together. It's a beautiful facility, and I know the children will appreciate the fact that they're in almost the entire building. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
And yes, I definitely appreciate you. I did have one more question. I was just curious. Can you give me some examples of the type of community service they're doing? I'm just...
So we have students go to Habitat for Humanity. There are students that do things for elderly. Like our middle school students, it's a little harder for them to get around. Sometimes they do something for elderly members of the community. We have things that they've done around the school. Sometimes we do a care package that can be for a portion of their points, where we'll donate to maybe a domestic violence home or to any organization in the community that could use some items.
Are the students involved in making the decision about how they'll perform their community service? And then are they responsible for getting to that service on their own, like transportation-wise and that sort of thing?
They go through orientation, and we present a PowerPoint to the students as well as their parents, and it outlines everything that they need to do in order to successfully complete the program.
Okay. So their parents help them figure out what's going to work with their schedule and get them there and that sort of thing.
Yes, and we give suggestions, but of course, if a student is not able to get it done, we will figure something out for them.
Okay.
Just for purposes of concern for parents who, some students are on the lower level of the tiers. Could you just explain to us when the intermingling begins with the other students? Because I think that's a big issue with going to RISE is someone who was just in the wrong place at the wrong time that gets sent there or whatever. They're afraid of what the security level is and that kind of stuff with the more aggressive students that are in the school. So can you explain that?
Well, our students come in the morning, they go through a check-in process, which requires them to go through the metal detectors, they turn in their cell phones, and we get them get their breakfast, and we get them into class. They're supervised for the entire day. If there is an issue, a parent can contact us. If a student brings an issue to us, we're sure to address it.
Well, I guess I'm just referring to what you said about they then begin to change classes after being in that tier for so long or whatever. They start changing classes.
Oh, so last school year, the tier 3. So those students, there are different issues why students are assigned certain tiers, but they just transition from class to class. There are a lot of adults. We're all out into the hallways, so if we see something, we're on top of it.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure that parents know that their students, all students, are safe when they're going there because we have the security there and we do have the means of keeping them separate, and that I want to make sure that everybody realizes that even though they are changing classes, that we still are there and monitoring and making sure that all the students are safe.
Absolutely.
And as I said, that's one of my babies' RISE, so I've been over there, and if anyone knows Mr. Mandrell, who is the resource officer, I don't believe you're going to challenge him. So bottom line is I would send my grandbabies there if I had any.
Well, the thing is, a lot of our students come and they do not want to leave. So it's safe.
Well, that says a lot about what you're doing there, so thank you for that.
No problem. Thank you.
Mr. Matthews? I think a few of you may have received some questions about salaries of certain positions, and so I asked Mr. Matthews to do a little historical for us and then share with you the difference between our classified staff and then what we have is what we consider daily rate restricted staff. So I'll turn it over to Scott.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Wimberly, members of the school board, Dr. Robbins. I got to brag to start out with. In personnel, we have an amazing personnel group, amazing team in Dorchester, too, a group of employees, over 4,000 employees. And whether you're an administrator, district office, a teacher, adult support, substitute, all the different roles that make up our district, we just have an amazing team, and I'm very super proud of the year we've gotten off to this year and all the great people we have on our team. Tonight, I'm going to give you some information, as Dr. Robbins just mentioned, about some very valuable, extremely important groups that we have in our district, and a little information about their pay. Adult support, we currently have about 138 adult supports. These are members of our employee group that are assigned to a student with special needs. Typically, there's an IEP meeting that's held, and the IEP team decides that a student needs an adult support. Therefore, that's how that position is created. And current daily rate is $120 a day. They do receive the benefits package, leave time. They're eligible for the sick bank, paid parental leave. And in the last 5 years, they were $75 a day back in 2019, and then we went to $90 during the pandemic, and then last year we went to $120 for the adult supports. For the health room assistants, they're also a daily pay rate, a flat rate of $120 a day. Health room assistants were added back during the pandemic and started with $75 a day with no benefits. And since then, we have added, they went from 75 to 90, then 90 with benefits, and now 120. And they also have the benefits package, leave days, option to enroll in the sick bank, paid parental leave, and they've had an increase, as I just mentioned, over the last 5 years. Permanent substitutes were also created during the pandemic. And really what permanent substitutes are is they're just dedicated to one building. We just allow, the high schools, the elementary schools, the middle schools to have a dedicated substitute. High schools can have up to 2. Elementary and middle school can have up to 1 at this time. Permanent substitutes, they're just dedicated to that school. And they do follow the same sub-rate that all daily substitutes have, which is $125 a day for non-certified, $150 a day for certified. And then daily substitutes, also that same rate. These are just folks who just, they log in, they go, they might be at a different school every day. And none of our substitutes currently have benefits or leave days. They don't have the option to enroll in the sick bank, or they don't qualify for paid parental leave. We have increased subpay. Subpay, again, was $75 5 years ago for non-certified, and $105 for certified. So since then, we've increased those to $125 and $150. Again, there's some information about the benefits packages that health room assistants and adult supports qualify for, 35% up to 100% of employees' salary. They're 180-day employees. They receive 8 sick days and 3 personal days per year, and the leave does accumulate from year to year if it goes unused. So there's a little information about those positions, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I do have one question, and I don't know if you can maybe answer this for me. I know that when we were talking about the increases this year, we advertised and shared that all classified staff were going to receive a 4% increase. So I know that's probably where a lot of this confusion is coming from, and why some of us have gotten messages is because obviously they're contracted at a daily rate, from my understanding. So that did not qualify them for that 4% increase, even though they are classified staff. So I think that created some misleading. I guess my first question is, are we in the future, is there a benefit to moving them to like a TA pay scale that's tiered based on their time in the district, and that they are guaranteed that increase every year? And could you speak as to why that may be beneficial, not beneficial? Because I know a lot of people are kind of also feeling pains that, an adult support that starts today is going to get paid the same as an adult support that started 15 years ago.
Right. Yeah, I definitely think there are benefits. I mean, I'm always an advocate for, improved pay for all employees in the district. And I know y'all have worked really hard to make that happen in a lot of areas. We're continuing to always evolve and look for better ways. I could see, the adult supports, they're typically, most adult supports are assigned to one student. And that's kind of why I think that the main reason I've always been told as to why they're not on the tiered scale. And they're, and even though they're not all temporary, they're IEP driven, so that, they could, an IEP meeting could be held tomorrow, and then all of a sudden now we always typically try to find another role for that employee. But I do think that they do an amazing job. They deal with some of our most challenging students, and they work well with our staff and teachers. I definitely think as we continue to move forward and have discussions in the future, I definitely think that's something that we could continue to discuss, the role of the adult support.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate the increases we've given, and without a doubt, I know that the heart of our district and y'all is for every employee to feel valued and appreciated, because we really truly do value the work they do. I do feel for them with the concern of feeling told that classified staff are going to receive a raise. So I guess what I ask, and I don't need an answer to this, is if we could possibly look into what we could do as a bonus for them, if possible, if that's something we can do. Obviously, I'm just throwing that out there. That's just a blue sky thought, but I could understand when you sign your contract and sign on to a new year and you're told classified staff are receiving a raise. And I understand the reasoning and the benefits, but I also, think it's important with that position being hard to recruit and retain on, that those people know that we do truly value them and their position.
Yes, ma'am.
So I just had a question. Are these the only positions in the district paid at a daily pay rate?
Other than we have some hourly employees that are paid at a daily, like hourly rate. Like, for example, we have some Title I employees that make $40 an hour, but they work maybe 4 or 5 hours a week. They don't, they're just hourly employees, but they're at like an hourly rate. Like a certified hourly rate's $40 an hour currently right now for anyone that we have that's a certified employee that works. And then we have, like, during summer school, there's hourly rates during summer school. So there are other flat hourly rates, but these are the only, like, the adult support and health room assistant, the only two full-time with benefits positions that are at a flat
paid
rate.
at the daily. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I agree with Ms. Bates. I think it is worthy of us looking and seeing what we can do. We may not be able to give them the full salary, but we can possibly look at what we can do in order to supplement what they're getting. They do a terrific job. I mean, I work beside some of them, and we want to make sure that we maintain those who've been with us a while because they understand, the nature of how we perform here in DD2 and our expectation. You can get a body, but we want a body that's also there because they care about the kids. And so sometimes that means we do have to find some dollars in order to supplement that. So we aren't guaranteeing anything, people. We're saying we would like to be able to look at it. Thank you.
Well, I agree. I feel like we have to, this is a part of the teacher recruitment and retention because these are just important. This is a part of a teacher benefit. When they have this aid in the classroom, this adult support in the classroom, that is a aid to that teacher. So I think we do need to look at finding a way to try to retain those people by paying them by the experience they have, because not only do we want someone there who loves the children, we want someone there who's got the experience with working with those children. So I can understand their frustration of getting paid the same thing that everybody else gets paid when a new person comes on. So I think that is something worth looking into. Where I appreciate all the increases that have been given, I still think there's some room for maybe just a little bit of tweaking in there to try to show them just how much they are appreciated and needed.
We good? Thank you. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Robbins. His ears are burning.
So we have that was the personnel portion tonight. We don't have any personnel recommendations tonight. The last item we have is student enrollment recommendations, and we do have one that we need to convene into executive session for.
Oh, we haven't done it.
Okay, board members, in your packets, you did receive some student enrollment recommendations that we are able to vote on now, if everyone is okay with doing that in open session. So at this time, I would ask for a motion regarding those recommendations.
So moved.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Guthrie. Do I have a second? Seconded by Ms. Hughes. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, I will call for the vote. Okay, motion carries 6 in favor, 1 absent. Okay, and that concludes your report for this evening. Thank you, Dr. Robbins. At this time, we will move to our public comments, and we have one public comment this evening, Mrs. Sierra Harrington. Okay. Okay. All right, so then we will move into our executive session. At this time, I would ask for a motion to convene into executive session for student enrollment recommendation matters.
So moved.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Guthrie, seconded by Ms. Crosby. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please vote. Okay, motion carries 6 in favor, 1 absent. We are in executive session and we will return. Ask for a motion to return to open session.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Guthrie. Do I have a second? Seconded by Ms. Powell. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
We're going to do a vote? I don't have it yet.
Electronic vote. Yes, I'm sorry. Electronic.
all right, come on.
Please. Okay, motion carries 6 in favor, 1 absent. We are in open session. Okay. At this time, do I have a motion?
Okay, Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion that we we uphold the recommendation from the administration for the student as discussed.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion from Ms. Hughes, second from Ms. Bates. Any discussion or questions? Okay, hearing none, I will call for the vote.
Come on.
Okay, motion carries 6 in favor, 1 absent. All right, at this time, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Ms. Bates, seconded by Ms. Crosby. Any discussion? All in favor? Cast your vote, please. Oh, shoot. Change my vote. No, I voted no by accident.
You voted no.
By accident. Can you change my vote, please? Okay, and the motion carries. The motion carries. We are adjourned.
Be careful.